Hey Battlefield, it's Nightman. Today I want to do a little overview of Battlefield 3's final map pack, Endgame. In it, I'm going to share some clips of the different maps and a couple of different game modes that are offered in this new DLC. I'll also review some of the vehicle changes and share some thoughts and tips from this pretty sweet release from DICE. I'm going to start off first with the motorcycle. As you can see here, it just sits there propped up on its kickstand. It's pretty easy to come by these pretty much anywhere on the map. The one thing that I did notice is these dirt bikes are way more durable than the quads were in Armored Kill. They're actually really fun to ride. I think everybody's been enjoying them. You'll see everybody around the map on these things. And the one good thing is they really pick up speed really fast. That don't quite handle like you would expect a dirt bike in a video game, but it's a lot of fun. Now you can see here as I'm riding on the back with somebody else, you can actually spawn directly in with somebody when they're on the dirt bike. And also you can see here, you get basically a 360 view. I've noticed when I'm on the bike, it's a lot more stable to shoot when you're firing forward than when you start looking out the back of the bike. In the back of the bike, it starts feeling a lot like it does on the quads in Armored Kill. On the dirt bikes, you can actually pull a wheelie. What you do is you hit your sprint button for the PlayStation. It's hitting down on your left thumb pad, or on the PC, it'll be your shift or whatever you've got it bound to. When you pull a wheelie, your bike does actually go faster, but you also block the passenger behind you. So if you see somebody coming up at you firing, you see an enemy, it's best probably to drop down, let your passenger fire on them. I don't think you really gain any protection by staying upright in the wheelie position. If anything, I think you probably will make yourself a bigger target since the dirt bikes don't have very much armor on them. Now here you see a problem with the dirt bikes when you try to cross a river where it's a little bit deeper than normal. Your guy just bails right off the dirt bike. And you see I'm going to try to get back on it a couple times. And I'm going to fall off it again. One way to prevent this is actually to do a wheelie when you go through the water. It keeps your bike above the water line and actually allows you to cross over the water without falling off the bike. Next is the Humvee, which is pretty much the same as before with the exception of the new missile launcher on the back of it. The missile launcher allows you to shoot down both ground and air vehicles. It's pretty deadly and has a very long range, so if you're in a chopper and you're getting locked down by one of these, you need to get the hell out of there. As far as ground, it will pretty much take down anything except a tank or any heavily armored vehicles. So if you see one coming at you, I'd suggest just getting in the Humvee and driving off. Don't try to challenge the tank or BMP. You're not going to win. I do love this animation it does when a passenger gets into the gunner seat. It kind of reminds me of the OCP robot from RoboCop. And here's my favorite, the new dropship. I think this new way of dropping IFV out is just brilliant and awesome all at the same time. As you can see here, you just kind of gently float down. You hear all the creaking and stuff like that. Then once you're on the ground, it's just your IFV is normal. They've also changed the way you parachute in from the dropship, and it's so much better than what they did in Armored Kill. As you can see here, you get a nice cool animation of the door opening, but you also get to see where you're going to drop, not only by using the minimap to see where you're positioned on the map, but you can also get a visual of what's on the ground below you. What I'm going to do now is cover all the maps and a few of the different game types. I don't want to go into full length right now, I just basically want to touch on each one of them just so you can get an idea of what each map offers and what they're kind of like. What I'll do after this is actually post some raw footage from different maps that I played. Just nothing special, just so you get a feel of what the maps look like, how they play. Just mainly for those that don't have the DLC and want to see what it looks like, or one's debating on whether or not to get it. They'll just kind of give you a full overview of what they're like. Now this is Operation Riverside. I kind of like the way they set up the spawn locations for the conquest missions. Looks like it'll do a good job of keeping people from base raping you. I haven't been on a full server yet playing this round, so I don't know how bad it could potentially get, but it looks like you have quite a few ways of exiting, and it's a pretty good cover from enemy fire. Alright, now I'm just kind of screwing around in the helicopter. We don't have too many people in here playing yet, so just kind of checking out where the different objectives are. Obviously you can see there's a river that runs through here on both sides. There's a dam there. You got a little overpass going over it. What's really cool about this map is all the jumps they put into it. Pretty much everywhere you cross over the river, there's a jump laid out somewhere nearby there. But if you scout around on the map with the dirt bike, you'll find they're hidden everywhere. Some of them are actually like double jumps. If you hit them right, you can hit one jump, land right into another spot, and jump again. It's a lot of fun during the CTF, but again, I didn't get to try it too much here in the on Conquest. Now here's the capture the flag version. As you can see, one of the common strategies is to throw mines all over the place. This actually does work really well to defend your flag, but obviously if you're attacking, you're going to want to be a little cautious when you move in for the objective. As you can see here, I tried to run the dirt bike over the flag to capture it, and that doesn't work. You actually have to get off the bike and grab the flag. And of course you don't want to get blown up by grenades either. Now I really did have fun playing CTF. I thought it was a nice change of pace from everything we've been doing. It can become a bit of a camp fest, but if you get a good team, you work together, you easily overcome any kind of camping that goes on in the map. I do find the sound effects they chose a little bit funny during the match. I started referring to them as taking a tinkle, as it sounds like a little tinkling noise every time you grab the flag. And you get that typical Battlefield sound whenever you capture the actual flag itself. But overall, I think the sound's probably the only complaint I did have about CTF, and it's only just because there's so much action going on that I don't think the sound is obvious enough so that you know that the flag has changed hands or been captured or whatever. So if anything, I think I'd like to see that change, but I don't think that's any kind of deal breaker at all. Now, as you can see here, I'm about to make a cap run of my own, and it's probably best that you don't run directly through the middle of the field. I think most people tend to do that. The best route I found was actually to go back and around. You can see here I'm going over this little Dukes of Hazzard jump thing, and notice that my teammate's able to actually lock onto somebody now while he's on the passenger seat of the dirt bike. I also probably should mention that during the round, if you actually need to return a flag, all you have to do is actually stand next to the flag for a certain period of time. You'll see a little timer burn down, and once it's done, the flag gets returned. There's no need to actually walk it all the way back to your base and return the flag yourself. Now on to air superiority, and I have to say I love this mode, and that's coming from somebody that does not fly very much in Battlefield whatsoever. Now, as you can see, there are plenty of vehicles to spawn into, unlike tank superiority and armored kill. One thing I do recommend is not coming in with rocket pods like I had when I first started this round. I wasn't thinking. As you fly around, you see these blimps floating around in front of you. Those are actually the objectives. They've got a pretty big radius around them to capture them with. All you have to do is brake really hard and float around them and you'll capture them. Obviously you don't run into them and blow up, but overall it's pretty easy to capture them. They tend to be where everybody clusters together, so try to be aware of what's around you because it's real easy to run into an enemy or even just a teammate. I suggest actually if you can go into third person mode when you're doing this, just so you can keep an eye on what's around you while you're capturing the objective. Because there's one thing you'll notice in this round: you'll get rammed a lot or you'll accidentally ram into other people. and I believe most of them are not intentional, but it's just a side effect of this game type.
The objective has been lost.
One thing you'll notice is you cannot eject in air superiority. What DICE did is actually kind of funny. What it does is it shows you a warning ejection seat malfunctioned whenever you try to eject out of your jet. That was actually kind of one of my concerns. You would have people constantly ejecting out of their planes, kind of like they do in regular Conquest. But in here they can't do it, so you actually get the opportunity to complete most of your kills. What that also means is you don't have a bunch of guys on the ground with iglas constantly trying to shoot you out of the sky. So in reality, it doesn't really matter what you use as your loadout when you're playing this. I would suggest using a class that you want to upgrade because you do get points applied to whatever class you're wearing. Now to cover the 3 other remaining maps. I'm going to start with the Kaiser Railroad. I think that's how you pronounce it. This one's centered around a bit of a lumber rail yard. And of course it's another wooded area type of map. The spawn bases are based opposite of each other right down the railroad track itself. The objectives are pretty well spaced out and pretty quick to get to if you grab a dirt bike. You'll find that with most of the maps on here that the dirt bikes are going to be the vehicle of choice if you want to get them to the objectives really quickly. This is another one of those maps that I haven't had much of an opportunity to play, but it does seem to lend itself to the possibility of getting base raid, unlike what we saw in Operation Riverside. This is another one of those maps that's good to throw a lot of mines around on, especially in some of the terrain areas. They tend to get hidden because it's a little bit hilly and people don't see them in time. I actually noticed on this one, just putting them in the main roadway, people weren't catching them, so I got a lot of kills that way. It's up to you. I'm sure eventually people are going to catch on to it, and it won't be so easy to get the kills with it, but as it is right now, it's pretty easy.
We've spotted an enemy sniper in your area. An enemy vehicle has been spotted in our area. Proceed with caution. Objective is taken. I repeat, the objective is taken.
Next up is an abandoned flats. And how about we drop in using IFV again? This thing is so damn much fun.
I've got eyes on the enemy machine gunner.
As you're going to see, this is actually a pretty flat map, as the name describes. But what it offers is a nice area where you can go pretty much anywhere you want. There's no paths that you're confined to, and you can get to these objectives any way you want, and they're really hard to camp. Look at these guys trying to hide back here.
Keep it up, boys. We maintain we can all go home soon.
And lastly, Sabalan Pipeline. This map is completely covered in snow. A lot of people, when they first join, compare it to Operation Firestorm, but I think the only similarities they really have is the reuse of some of the assets from the previous map. It really is a different layout, it has a different feel to it. I probably have to say that it's my least favorite of the maps, but that by no means it's bad. I just didn't find it as fun as the previous ones, but it could also be it was late in the evening, there were fewer people playing, and it didn't have as much action as I would have liked to have seen.
The objective has been taken. Objective has been neutralized. Enemy light armor in your area.
Now I'm rolling up on C here, and this is definitely the center of the map, and it also controls who owns the airdrop ship. This is probably the most difficult of the objectives that are on this map, mainly because there are a lot of entries into that structure. The flag is up on the first floor in there. There's a lot of grates that the enemy can look through to fire down on you, but at the same point there are a lot of staircases coming up in there, so it's a lot for them to watch, which is good for balance. I see that becoming an area where there's going to be either a lot of action or everybody's just going to avoid it altogether.
We have lost the objective. I repeat, we have lost the objective.
And of course, what would a review of this map be without a little view of the snowmen? Yes, DICE has snuck in some snowmen into this little cabin over here. It's pretty easy to find. I think just about everybody's seen it now, but I figured I'd throw it in there in case you haven't seen it yet. So, overall, I'm really enjoying the endgame. I think it's pretty obvious. I definitely think they saved the best for last. I do wish there was a way that they could import some of these new items up into the older maps, just to kind of refresh them a bit. I know the difficulties behind that as far as DLCs and who owns what and everything, so obviously it's not going to happen, but it'd still be cool to see, like in Caspian Border, the dirt bikes. But overall, I think DICE did a really good job with this one. That does not mean it's not without its problems, just like every other map pack before it. I did find a few glitches, I'm sure there are plenty more than what I've seen, but I've included mine at the end of this video just so you can see an example of some of the things that are happening. So, thanks for watching. Keep an eye out for some of the raw videos, like I said earlier in the video, and see you in the battlefield. So the first bug I'm going to cover is in air superiority. It seems to happen in all the maps. You get into the height ceiling on this, chasing somebody, and everybody just gets stuck. You can't move, you can't fall. It's not the typical stall position. It's something completely different where the jet just seems stuck. It will not roll, it won't drop. Basically, you have to suicide. I've had one squad mate able to wiggle his way out of it, but it takes forever to do. I see this being a big problem for people. I guess it happens on the normal maps. I've never seen it myself, but it's obviously a much bigger problem to have in air superiority. But 2 minutes later, somebody finally sees me and puts me out of my misery. Next is a sound issue similar to what plagued the PS3 in the past in this game. I'm not sure if you can see it on any other platform, but for some reason every once in a while the sound will drop out. It's not all the sound, just certain game audio just drops out, but now instead of just dropping out for a long period, it will actually return. It just slowly fades back in, but it's happening quite often. This is one I'm definitely hoping gets patched. But I don't know if it's a PS3 only. I don't know if it's the original issue returning. It had been fixed once. Hopefully it can be fixed again.
I repeat, the objective has been lost.
And finally, there's this. Don't know what happened.